for or against the Sunrise Power Link, specifically going down the center of Alpine Boulevard? Mr. Black.
I can't imagine that anybody would want it going down Alpine Boulevard. But another interesting aspect of this is the generator that they use to make the electricity is called a Stirling engine or a Stirling motor. And I found out something very peculiar about this motor. It doesn't need to be in Imperial County. It doesn't need to be in East County. It can be here locally. You could put it on the rooftop here, a Stirling motor. And it would lose, certainly, some of its efficiency by not being in the sunshine. How much efficiency does it lose from transmission lines coming from 150 miles away? What we need to think about is, in terms of this power line, is whether or not we need the power line itself. We definitely need the electricity generation. The Stirling motor is easily installed any place in this county. It doesn't have the blades. It doesn't have a noise factor. It generates very little RF. It is something that is actually very handy and very well used. And it can be put locally and serve the same power supply as anything that we could dream up running 150 miles away from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clay.
I may be the only one with this opinion. I'm against it. I am adamantly against it because the people don't want it. The only people that are benefiting from this are the special interest groups that my opponents work for, and because they work for them, because I have one patch, we the people. I'm not taking a single cent from SDG&E, Sempra, or anybody else, or no special interest money from Sacramento or anywhere else. I agree with Supervisor Diane Jacobs. She has said that all the testing that needed to be done on this has not been happening, and you cannot convince me that this will not cause another fire. So I am against it.
Mr. Stone.
Thank you. I joined Pastor Stevens. I'm also opposed to the Sunrise Power Link. It's a $2.5 billion infrastructure amenity. Who's going to be paying for it? The constituents. Why not take the $2.5 billion and offset the cost for our citizens to put solar panels on top of their roofs in San Diego County, which will create even more energy and add to the grid? Of course, there's a fire hazard. We had the same problem when the power lines were going to go through the Temecula wine country and save Southwest Hills, which I was a part of. We fought it and we won. And just so you know, I also have not taken any money from Sacramento, not a dime. My opponent, Joel Anderson, has gotten 87% of his contributions from Sacramento, including SDG&E. Where do you think his loyalty is going to be with? The citizens or the special interests in Sacramento?
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Mr. Hanson, again, the question, are you for or against the power link, specifically going down the center of Alpine Boulevard?
I'm certainly against the power link going down the center of Alpine Boulevard. It is a long ways along. I cannot understand at this point why it did not go along the southwest line. There's already a line there. True, it goes through the Campo Indian Reservation, but that could be done. That could be negotiated. Perhaps they thought it couldn't at one time. Also, there's no guarantee that there would be no dirty energy. When this was voted on in the whole county, it did pass. The citizens of Chula Vista have a really horrendous air problem. They voted for it. Others did. I am against it, not just because it runs right through my neighborhood, but that doesn't make me feel good. We would generate so many more jobs by having the photovoltaic cells on our roofs, solar thermal and wind energy, than we are importing energy, and some of it very well could come from Mexico, and right now it could be dirty energy.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Currently, and as is proposed, I do not support the Sunrise Power Link, and I don't believe that SDG&E has done a sufficient job of selling the project to the rest of us to convince us that it is necessary. Now, what I do support in the state of California is the increase of solar power and on individual homes, and we need to change the state laws that restrict residences and businesses from being able to sell back their energy to the grid. Currently, if you have a solar power cell on your house, you can only generate the amount of electricity that you use, and you cannot sell back the surplus. So we need to change that law. And the second thing is we do need to expand electrical supply in California. This whole concept that we're having to have brownouts and blackouts in a first world country is unbelievable to me, And so we do need to expand electric supply and expand our economy with that increased supply.
Thank you. Ms. Rubin?
I oppose a power link going down Alpine Boulevard. I went to the community meeting at the Women's Center in Alpine, and a lot of talk was talking about mitigating the damages, if you will, and talking about trees and talking about curbs, when the citizens of Alpine just wanted more input into it. What worries me the most about long generation and long transmission lines is San Diego as a region will lose its ability to generate its own local power. We have power plants here that the NIMBYs, if you will, are allowing our power plants to expire and push them out, and what that means is that we're going to have to get more and more of our electricity from further and further away. And the next time we have the big earthquake, fire, flood, locust plague, whatever, we're going to want to be able to generate our own electricity, and we are not going to have the capacity for that.
Thank you, Ms. Rubin. Mr. Wells?
Well, this is a perfect example of some of the strangeness of Sacramento. You know, what happens is coastal Democrats want renewable energy at any cost. And the state imposes laws that force the power companies to bring in more renewable energy. Now, the utilities, they can't do it in California because you can't build more power plants, and you can't do it in California because of the environmental regulations. So they have to go out of state to get the renewable energy that we really don't need. And then we have to build a giant transmission line to bring the renewable energy that we really don't need all the way back through the yards. It just doesn't make any sense. I oppose the plan, but the way I would deal with it would be to deal with it at the Sacramento level and really deal with some of this environmental extremism and get back to some common sense in making energy laws. And I got to tell you, I have not taken a single dollar from SDG&E, but there's still a week left of the election. And if somebody wants to donate to my campaign, I intend to win. I would very much like to talk to you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Go ahead and get the microphone. Let's continue on this energy.